Hello and welcome back to Retfurb. So on today's video we've got this set of Wharfedale XP2 Glendale speakers that are in need of a bit of an overhaul. Now they work absolutely fine, sound really good, really nice speakers, but as you can see the cases are a little bit beat up. They're not the worst that I've seen or had or worked on, so they just need a little bit of tidying up. You just see there around the wood there's bits of chipping that's off of there. So on the video I'm going to show you the easiest way that I find to do it. It's fairly cheap and it transforms the speaker cases and makes them look a hell of a lot better and brings them back to their former glory. So let's get straight into it. So first thing I'm going to do is remove the speaker. So I'm just using my drill driver just to get the screws out. I started doing it with a normal screwdriver and I thought, why am I struggling when I got the right tools to do it? So just undoing them and just got to get inside then to remove the wires. So it's obviously a fairly easy process. We're concentrating more on obviously doing the box rather than actually the process. And as you can see, my dog decides to make another cameo in the video. So just looking inside there, just looking for the wires, just making sure that I keep a note of which way they go when they got to go back in. So that's all the speakers out. So now I'm just going to go around all the bits of damage. I'm just using normal car body filler now on this and just filling in any of the damage, any bits of wood that's missing, any digs, any knocks. You need to be fairly, sort of careful when you're doing it. You want to put loads in there or put it in too rough that it's just harder to do, but it doesn't matter too much. It's not gonna affect it too much. You'll rub this down and then it'll be covered with the film anyway, so just going over and just trying to make sure you fill in those bits okay. And now just going over with some sandpaper and just rubbing it down. Now I'm using 150 grade, I think it was off the top of my head. Again, it doesn't matter too much what you use, as in if it's too coarse, you don't want it, sort of 40 grit, I would say, is going probably a little bit too much, but something like 150, 240, perfect. And I'm just going over now with the sander, just making it a little bit quicker because some of the bits on here are a little bit thick, and then just finishing it off with the pad. And like I say, you don't have to go too mad. It's just to get it all nice and smooth. It'll hide quite a bit when you put the film on there. And now just cleaning it off, just brushing it off, brushing any dust off, and using some solvent-based degreaser and just wiping it around, just making sure that it's ready and prepped. It's got to be nice and clean for the film to go on, and also when we retexture the front panel on the speaker. So this is the matte black that I'm going to use now. Now I always do this, I always go around where I've filled, I always go around on all the edges, just in case for any instances small gaps when the film's on there. And now I'm just masking out the inside just to stop too much aerosol going on any of the matting inside. You obviously don't want to be spraying that in there and getting it all over it. And then just continuing to work around the box with the aerosol. And obviously you don't have to use the matte black. You can use a satin black, a gloss black. It doesn't really matter too much. It's just in case with the film, if you get any small gaps, you shouldn't do, but in case you do, it just covers those edges and just makes a better job. And now moving on to the texture spray. So this is one of the kinds of texture spray that I use. I do use other kinds. I'll show a link in a minute, just showing another type which I've used previously, which is just as good. So you just want to go around putting some light coats on, not too heavy. If you do get any sort of thick splatters that come off when you're doing it, you can sort of just touch them with your finger and just flatten them down a little bit. I quite like to put a dust coat on it and then let it tack off a little bit and then rub over with my hand, and then that sort of takes the roughness out of it. And this is the link to one of the aerosols that I've used previously, texture coating. Now this is a company called Grove Group, which we have a local one, so occasionally I'll get this one from them. If they haven't got it available, then I'll get a different type. I did order the last one, I think, on Amazon, which is the Pro Tex XL one. So they're all pretty similar price, sort of £10-15 roughly. So now moving on to the film. So this is Fablon walnut finish film, which I've used on all the speakers I've done on the channel. It's a nice finish film. It gives a good sort of wood effect to it, and it's a reasonably good price. So I'll quickly show now the place where I bought it from, which is Dunelm. You can get it on Amazon as well also, which is a similar sort of price. I think it might be a little bit more expensive on Amazon. If you can find somewhere local that do it, you probably find it cheaper. but it's ideal for this and it gives a really good effect. So now continuing back to fitting the film. So this particular piece is ideal because it's about half the thickness width of the film sheet, so I can cut it in two and get enough to cover both sides. So I get the better sort of cut edge on the film against the back edge of the speaker, because that isn't going to be trimmed. I'm going to line it up against the back edge, as you can see, fold it over the top edge and the bottom edge of the speaker, and then it will fold round to the front. And on these particular speakers, it's got a bit more of an intricate sort of design on the front face, so the wood effect wraps round into the actual speaker area, which the dust cover goes into, if that makes sense. Sounds a bit more complicated me sort of trying to describe it, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. So I just get the back edge lined up, making sure I leave enough at the top and the bottom to lip it over, and then once you fit the top piece and the bottom piece of the film, this will then cover those bits that have been lipped over, and then you'll have no sort of gaps. You will see a slight line on the film on the top and the bottom, but it's not that bad. It's better to do it like that than potentially have gaps. So now I'm just folding it over, just making sure that I'm rubbing it all down nice and flat as I'm doing it. You don't want to leave any sort of loose film that can potentially bubble up. Obviously you won't tend to get bubbles with this because it's on the wood, so it won't really hold the bubble so much. But if there's any loose film, it will sort of lift up and it won't look so good. So you can see I've just trimmed that little bit and just folding over the lip. Again, just rubbing down as I'm doing it. And exactly the same the other side, just trimming that top piece on the corner, and then we can lip that over again. So quite often when you're doing things like that, it's more a trial and error. You know, when I first started doing them, I probably didn't do them the best way that it could have been done when I started using this film on speakers. So now I've done a few, I sort of know the better ways of doing it. And now just lipping the film into the recess, as I said before, that I was trying to describe. So just lipping that in there, just making sure it's tucked right into the edge. And then again, there's another bit that's got to be tucked down even further. So I'm just trimming the film a little bit more here, just to get that to tuck down even further. On most speakers that I've done, it isn't this intricate on the front of them. So it's a lot easier than it is on this one. And then just tucking that into the next recess part and making sure that it's right in tight. Obviously the film will adhere a lot better when it's been left on there for a period of time. Once you first put it on, the adhesion obviously doesn't stick quite as hard as what it will when it's left. So you might find that it feels like it's not sticking down quite as well as it could be. And now I'm just going around carefully, just trimming right into that edge, and then just removing the excess bit of film. So you can see straight away on that bit how much better that looks just with that little bit of film. And now I'm just working around, making sure it's stuck down and it's into the areas correctly, and just trimming the film off. And then we can move on afterwards to putting exactly the same piece on the opposite side of the speaker. So when I'm doing this, obviously it's not going to be an exact factory finish. You know, some people might think it's not the best way of doing it, but it's, to be honest, I would say it's fairly cheap to do it. Yeah, the film, I mean, it's £4 it was from Dunelm. I think I paid a little bit more. I think it was on offer then, but you probably get enough to do a couple of speakers this size. The aerosol spray, you know, you could probably do about 10 speakers at least with that. So it's not too bad, really. You know, it might be a bit more of an initial outlay, but if you're doing a few speakers, then it's definitely worth doing it. The aerosol matte black, or any type of aerosol black, to be honest, you can pick up for a few pound probably in the local DIY sort of shop, and again, that will last for ages. Body filler, yeah, that's going to be a little bit more, but overall I don't think it's that much. You know, if it's a set of speakers that are worth doing and they're a nice set of speakers and you want to tidy them back up again, it's definitely worth it. If you're doing it just for your own use as well, 100% definitely worth it. I've got my speakers that are in my living room that I did it for me, not to sell on. So it didn't really matter how much they cost, and they're speakers that are worth it regardless anyway. So yeah, I would definitely recommend doing it. So going back to it, just finishing trimming the other side. Obviously I've gone through quicker on that side. And then we can now get ready after doing that to fit the top and the bottom pieces. So once the sides are done, I'm just going to trim up the top and the bottom bits that we folded over just a little bit, get rid of too much to film. We don't want loads overlapping, it only needs to be a small amount. And then this part can be trimmed to fit on the top. So again, starting at the back edge, and then it'll be pulled forward up to the front of the speaker. So as you can see there, I pulled it off rather than actually pulling the film up tight. So just had to re-stick that again. So what I'll do is I'll trim the top of this film so it just overlaps near the edge of the top of each side. So it'll cover that bit that we lipped over from the sides, and then it'll just butt up sort of close to the edge, which I'll show later on. So it's just exactly the same process as what I've done on the side basically, but all you'll do when you come to trimming it, I'll just trim it at a 45-degree angle on both the corners at the front, and then this will overlap and they won't leave any gaps, and also it should give it a nicer finish just with that angle. And then just trimming that excess film off. And then you can see here I'm just cutting it at an angle just so it overlaps what we did previously. And the same again for the other side. So you can see there the finish of that bit, it just makes it look a lot better just for the angled cut. And then just to trim those top pieces that are overlapping, so they'll sit in probably a couple mil from the sides once it's trimmed. And then doing exactly the same thing to the bottom of the box. For some reason on the video I didn't show the trimming of the side pieces, but literally I just cut it probably 2 mil in from the sides, so it just overlapped that film that we lapped over at the top and the bottom of the box. So you can see now the speakers are gradually coming together. There's not a hell of a lot more left to do on them. It's just trimming now this bottom piece, getting that all finished up, and then we can get the speaker units fitted back in. And then we can get the grille cover fitted back on, and as you can see, you know, they're coming out really well. I'm happy with how these turned out. I think like I said before, it's a good process just to tidy them up, make them a bit more neater. It's not too hard to do, in my opinion. I know some people might struggle with it a little bit more than others, but I think if you take your time, go round, the film's quite forgiving. You know, you can mess up a couple of times and sometimes, you know, you'll get away with it. You can pull it back off, put it back on, as long as you don't leave any dust or dirt or anything like that on it, the box, once you're trying to fit it. That's when you'll get the problems, if you leave that on there. If you clean it off and make sure it's nice and clean, once you fit it all together, you won't have issues because you won't be pulling up any dirt and that with the film. So that's the main thing to consider whilst you're doing it. So as you can see, the speakers all fitted back in. I noticed a little bit of foam was sticking out afterwards, so I unscrewed the main speaker and put that back in. But yeah, as you can see, really happy. I think they come out really nice. You know, I keep repeating myself. You can see there I've trimmed the top piece nice and neat, close to the edge. Yeah, let me know what you think. I hope this has helped someone, you know, who's got some speakers that need a little bit of tidying up and don't know what to do with them. You know, I hope this has helped you to now realise how easy it is really to do it and get them looking really nice again. These now sit next to a stereo unit again and take pride of place, and, you know, go on again now for many years to come. So yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. It's really appreciated. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.